Ah, spring, the time when the snow melts away. We shed our old skins and open ourselves up to new horizons, new adventures to be had. Alright, now we just go back to the same old trap.
Yeah, when looking back on the spring season, I realized it had probably the largest concentration of sequels and spin-offs in a single season this year, or possibly even of the past 5 years, with at least 12 shows by my count. Funny thing, I've heard the Lupin the Third anime that started airing this winter season was originally scheduled for a spring release. I'd bet anything they decided against it after seeing how many freaking sequels were in this single season already. Now, I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing, as there were shows that I really wanted to see the continuation to, and did enjoy. Still, it did become a bit of a double-edged sword, as it also reduced the amount of time I had to watch new shows. As a result, I might have missed out on a few shows that garnered a ton of praise like Blood Blockade or Soma. No, not that one, though I've heard good things about that one too.
On down the line, I might actually check out those shows, but for the time being, I'm just going to stick with the new anime that I actually saw during the spring season. With that in mind, let's get right into talking about the new anime hits and misses of the spring of 2015.
In my last video, I mentioned my problems with the anime adaptation of Kantai Collection. I admit that while it had a silly concept surrounding modified warships of all things, I still thought it could have been a much more enjoyable watch if they had actually tweaked a few of the more problematic areas.
I also mentioned that there was an anime with an equally silly concept that actually addressed all of the problems Kantai Collection had. Yep, this is that anime, and I just want to get ready to talk about it, so let's go.
I remember very clearly when and where I first saw Etotama. It was with my friends at the 2015 SakuraCon in Seattle. They were having an advanced screening panel for it almost 1 week before it was set to premiere in Japan. Admittedly, we just went to it to kind of kill some time during the con, but lo and behold, we were pleasantly surprised at what we got. Like many anime about the Chinese zodiac, this anime focused on the cat that got cheated out of its place in the zodiac. In order to gain entry into the Zodiac, the cat of this story named Nyatan has to defeat each member of the Zodiac, including the rat who originally cheated her out of the position in the first place. The twist here being she and all of the official members of the Zodiac are, as you can see, modified anime girls.
Well, of course.
Yeah, while this anime sounds like it's treading similar waters to Kantai Collection's waters, I think this anime pulled off its concept a lot better. First and foremost, it focuses on showcasing the characters rather than overcomplicating the plot. Granted, while Kantai Collection had a lot more characters than even Etotama's 12 Zodiac plus the cat, it didn't really even develop its core main characters, with the exception of Fubuki, who quite frankly is a pretty damn boring lead. Etotama, on the other hand, just gives enough time and development for each member of the Zodiac, while still keeping the plot relatively simple, with it just being Nyatan's journey to join the Zodiac and defeat her old rival in the rat, Chutan. And unlike the very vanilla protagonist of Fubuki, Nyatan is a very enjoyable lead. I just love troll leads like her who can mess with the majority of the cast, while at the same time keeping it relatively harmless. And while she can be selfish, she does have a good and above all else, fun-loving personality, which is the very least I can ask for in my anime lead, but seldom receive, especially from Shonen Battle-esque anime. Which leads into another area I really like about this anime. It never takes itself all that seriously. It recognizes that its setup is silly, so it actually sticks with that mindset, and remains a relatively lighthearted and fun little story. Granted, there are more serious moments in this show, especially near the end, but unlike Kantai, it actually felt like it earned them, as there was actual build up to some of those heavier scenes, with characters we've actually been given time to grow attached to. Also, much like with what Saikano from my last video did with harem anime, Ezotama took many of the tropes found in shonen battle anime and satirized them while still remaining a competent action show in its own right. Which leads into my last and most important thing that I liked about this anime, the battles. I only kind of brought it up in the last video, but the battles in Kantai Collection really didn't work, partially because of the usage of CGI, which really stuck out against the traditionally animated backgrounds. And generally it didn't provide anything impressive looking and just felt like it was a time-saving measure, which it probably was. Ezotama took the exact opposite approach and benefited from it greatly. First of all, they made the battles completely CGI as opposed to a strange mixture of the two. They got away with this by clearly stating in story that battles take place in a different dimension, and even provided some really awesome transitioning sequences complete with the characters transforming into their adorable little pre-modes. I wish I could have plushies of these guys. Yet, despite their smaller, cuter size, the battles are very impressive thanks to having some very high quality animation. Environments are destroyed, the characters pull off really flashy attacks. They even make Shogi look epic! Yeah, a nice thing about the show is that not all of the battles are fisticuffs, so it never gets boring or repetitive. My personal favorite battle was actually a race that parodied a certain popular video game that I can't show clips of or they're gonna take this video down. So with the times, aren't we, Nintendo? But I digress. All of the battles look great, mostly because they made the wise decision of outsourcing their CGI to another studio. While this wasn't a masterpiece or anything, it was still a ton of fun and easily my favorite new anime of the spring season, and probably my second favorite of the season overall. Seriously, check this anime out on Crunchyroll. It's a ton of fun with one of the best underdog, or in this case, undercat protagonists ever. The next show is one that I really debated whether or not to consider it a disappointment or a meeting of my expectations. Overall, I liked Plastic Memories, but, and this really kills me to have to say it, it was a disappointment overall. Alright, first a little summary. Plastic Memories takes place in a future where androids known as Giftia have become commonplace, serving as anything from caretakers to even surrogate children. In order to adequately serve such purposes, Giftia are designed to look and sound extremely human and even have very sophisticated AI. However, such sophisticated AI is unable to last more than a little over 9 years before it starts to malfunction, and thus manufacturers have to send out the terminal services to retrieve them. Many times, it's not an easy process, for you see, after the Giftia are recovered, while the exoskeleton can be reused, the hard drive cannot be salvaged and thus it is completely deleted. You know, this is the kind of sci-fi I really like. The kind that doesn't bog itself down with all of the technical babble, but instead focus on the moral dilemmas that would arise from advancements with our technology, in particular AI. Because when you really think about it, when Giftia's hard drive is completely wiped clean, that could be interpreted as killing them off, as they are wiping out over 9 years worth of memories. For many, that is more than enough time for both the Giftias and their owners to develop a strong bond through those memories, even though in a way you could say they're not real or plastic, because it was made with something that's not necessarily human. The first episode does a fantastic job at illustrating this conflict while also introducing a quirky little team from the terminal service. Yeah, the people who are essentially the Repo Men are the main characters of this story. They're a workforce made up of teams of a human and a Giftia. One such team is that of Tsukasa and Ayla. These two are both the best and worst parts of this show. Okay, let me say this first. These two are great as characters. While Tsukasa isn't the most interesting male lead out there, he does rise above a lot of them just because he's a nice guy. He's not angsty and he doesn't have an excessive hero complex like some people. He's just a good social worker who really goes out of his way to make sure everyone he works with is happy. I can only imagine how taxing a job that is. Then there's Ayla, who's also great. She's every bit as well-intentioned as Tsukasa, though nowhere near as competent. Yeah, she's a total klutz with even less social skills than me. But yet, while this is initially played for laughs, it eventually works into a rather tragic character trait. First of all, she can't overcome her physical limitations like, say, Cyborg, because she has no real organic parts that can develop, lending more to the theme of whether or not Giftia should truly be considered human or not. There's also another reason for her ineptitude, but I won't spoil it here. Point is, while she is a klutz, she is good-willed and develops a great relationship with her partner. The only problem is, said relationship takes up a majority of the show's runtime, and as a result, many of the potentially interesting plot lines are dropped.
Like, they started this little plot line about the Giftia being abducted by these shade black market guys, which, okay, that could lead to an interesting little story arc where the black market guys are treating the Giftia like just objects, so which could also be a bit of an interesting little commentary on human trafficking, and it's resolved after 2 episodes. They don't bring up any kind of commentary or anything like that. Well, okay, maybe they just want to put that aside because they want to focus on the whole reasoning behind Giftia needing to be recalled and all that, and maybe explain why they have such a limited lifespan and it's never brought up again after 1 episode. Oh, come on! That sounds so interesting and you just forget about plot lines like that? Really?
Yeah, this anime performed a major cardinal sin in storytelling by bringing up potentially interesting plot points, but almost instantly forgetting about them. Now, I'm not gonna say it was anywhere near as disappointing as Yatterman Night, as at least the developing relationship between Ayla and Tsukasa is good, and does still address the major theme of making memories with an artificial being. But at the end of the day, it was nowhere near as engaging as the moral dilemmas they faced or could have faced when recalling the Giftias. That and the side characters do kind of turn this nice little romance they have going here into a trope-laden rom-com.
Seriously, I think I actually saw a picture of Michiru in my anime textbook in the section about Tsunde. And it's not as though they couldn't have had their cake and eat it too in this sort of situation.
They could have kept the more rom-com elements in the back while maintaining focus on the potential plot lines I brought up, but nope, they chose to do it backwards, and the anime's writing suffered for it. Now, ultimately, I can't wholeheartedly recommend this anime, but I also don't want to discourage not at least checking out a few episodes, because there is good stuff here. The first episode is fantastic as a standalone, while the preceding 5 episodes could be seen as a decent follow-up. The rest, I'm not sure, though the final episode is really good and ends the series on a great ambiguous note. In the end, this was definitely the Wall-E of this season. It had a great first act and a pretty good ending, but everything in between just didn't feel like it belonged. Oh, and both starred machines, so yeah, there's that. Watch a few episodes if you want some good sci-fi, but otherwise, some things are better off recalled.
So, anyone out there ever go into an anime with negative expectations? I certainly did with Show by Rock, yet I watched the first episode, and I was hooked after that first episode.
Yeah, my negative expectations for the show came from my own personal grudges against Sanrio. Even though I was well into stuff like Precure and MLP well before this year, I could never like Sanrio because as a kid I had to deal with my sister's crazy obsession with this stuff. So when I heard this anime was made by them, I was expecting some product placement laden garbage. But lo and behold, I got a really decent music anime with some raunchier elements that are definitely not aimed at the little girls. Show by Rock is a story about one girl named Shion, or as she's later referred to as Cyan, who gets transported into a world called Midi City, which is full of furries who are obsessed with music.
Yes, like nothing you've ever seen before. Uncanny, unsettling even. Yada yada, moving right along.
Music bands rule the airwaves and are pretty much ranking in all of the big bucks. So much so that one corrupt music producer, yeah, we have to have one of those, is trying to use creatures known as dark monsters so that his bands are the only ones in town. So it's up to Cyan and her band Plasma Magica to stop him with the power of music. And yeah, this story isn't Shakespeare by any means. It's a very basic good versus evil story with minions with the least creative name ever. Still, much like Etotama, it's the characters that make this show. Cyan and her band are a lot of fun and work off each other really well. As a developing band, they try to find their niche, and it's pretty endearing at times. But let's face it, the band that stole the show in terms of both presence and the popularity polls is of course the OTT parody of Visual Kei, Shingon Crimsons. These guys are just a riot. They turn eating ramen into a total ham parade. They too go through some good character development, and we get to see a great camaraderie develop between the bands. There are a few more bands, each with their own personalities as well as music styles, which gives this soundtrack some fantastic variety. And then there's the Bells, which, while likely meant to sell the plushies, are still really damn good. It's a lot like Etotama, with them taking place in different dimensions and the characters turning into cuter CGI'd animal forms. In some areas it looks even better than Etotama, though I think the backgrounds look a lot better than this Tron-esque stuff, though it still looks good. Overall, it is yet another fun series that again recognizes its simplistic plot and never tries to do anything more than just have a fun time. While there are moments where the characters sulk, they never felt overblown or sappy. Granted, I kind of wish these conflicts didn't resolve so damn quickly. In fact, I think this anime could have benefited from 1 or 2 more episodes just so that they could flesh out the characters a little more. But really, I think they did what they could with such a limited episode run, so I can't really fault them on that. While I still found Etotama a little bit better, I'd still say this is my second favorite new anime of the spring season. If you never thought Sanrio and rock music would ever go well together, give this show a watch and you might be surprised.
A musical instrument is not an axe.
Well, that's it for the spring season. If you felt there were any anime I forgot, feel free to comment below. Next up though is going to be my personal favorite season, both as someone who lives in Hawaii, we kind of like the hotter weather, and as far as anime lineups are concerned, the summer season. Until then though, farewell for now my friends.